Coastal cities around the world are dealing with issues related to rising water levels and more severe storms. Venice and New Orleans have very different histories, but both have depended on wetlands for their protection from storms and invasions. In both places, though, those wetland environments are disappearing. Scientists estimate that Louisiana loses roughly 25 to 35 square miles a year to the Gulf of Mexico. In the past, it was possible to walk across Venice's lagoon on foot because of the marshlands. Now the area is becoming a bay. Both Venice and New Orleans are adopting solid solutions to the problem of encroaching water. Venice is building its famous Mosaic project, a series of mobile barriers that'll lie on the floor of the lagoon and will be raised to hold back the sea. The Army Corps of Engineers is charged with building enormous flood walls around New Orleans and other parts of southern Louisiana. Some of these walls stand as much as 30 feet high to hold back storm surges produced by hurricanes. Both projects are expensive. The Greater New Orleans Flood Protection System will cost nearly $15 billion, while Mosaic's current price tag is €5.6 billion. In both cities, some believe these walls overlook other strategies to attenuate water levels. John Barry is the author of Rising Tide, a history of the 1927 flood that devastated the lower Mississippi River Valley.
All the land in the river's floodplain was actually built by the deposit of sediment in the Mississippi River. And it used to deliver 400 million tons of sediment a year to the Gulf of Mexico. It now only delivers about 125 million tons of sediment. There are tens of thousands of dams on the entire Mississippi River system, which stretches from New York State to the Rocky Mountains.
Dams aren't the only thing causing problems in southern Louisiana. Navigation channels cut into the marshes for oil and gas companies have broken down the root systems that hold the ground in place, making it easier for boat wakes to eat it away.
Virtually all the salt marshes have disappeared from that segment of the lagoon.
Jane DeMosto is an environmental consultant with Venice in Peril. She explains how the Canale dei Petroli, a navigation channel dug during the 1960s for large ships, has affected the lagoon.
And I call that area of the lagoon, which the channel cuts across, it's like an underwater desert. You know, all the diverse morphology of the lagoon has disappeared, and that's not good for Venice.
Ironically, while Venetians diverted rivers to keep silt out of the lagoon, Louisianans may do something similar with the Mississippi to create land. Denise Reed is a professor at the University of New Orleans. She says that while it's true that the river carries less sediment than it used to, not enough is being done to use what it has.
And the best thing we can do is redivert the river. The best thing we can do is get the water and the sediment out of the river during a flood and get it out into the coast to start building land. We can't catch it in any other way except with the natural way that sediment gets captured in a delta. We can't put a big piece of cheesecloth across the river and catch it.
Reed's proposal may not sound radical until you consider she's suggesting a major shift in the Mississippi's course. But businesses use the river, and they may not be so open to a new path. In Italy, an academic from the University of Padua, which was the traditional university for the Venetian Republic, has proposed pumping water deep into the ground to raise the land around Venice. One of the things that could compromise the solution, DeMosto says, is if the thick muddy layer, called caranto, that would cover the water isn't uniformly solid. If it's a patchwork with breaks between the caranto plates, the strategy won't work because the water will find those breaks and rise up to the surface. Zoe Sullivan, Miller-McCune, New Orleans.